Hi, I'm Dan Rudnick. I'm from Scripps Institution of Oceanography, and yes, I'm going to talk about observing the ocean with underwater gliders. Well, the world is going wireless. As we all know, you all have your iPhones, you have your smartphones, and I'd like to advocate that we are ready now for ocean observing and smart ocean observing by cutting the cables and starting to use autonomous instrumentation. So let's start this story with Hank Stommel, a well-known oceanographer, one of the greatest. Thank you very much. Hank was a great guy, and he had a vision. His vision was one of gliders flying throughout the world's ocean, going up and down all over the world, sending back data by satellite in real time, so he could hang out on Nonamessip Island, living the good life, and collecting data through this is his picture, through his satellite dishes there, and getting data and living the life of a gentleman scientist. Well, his vision actually has become something of a reality, not so much with gliders, though with floats. The Argo array shown here, 3,000 floats throughout the world, collecting data 24/7 and sending it back as really our in situ observation system for looking at the ocean's role in climate. Well, what about gliders? Where gliders are going to be, here's 10 years of glider data along the US coast. Gliders are going to be the connective tissue between the coast and the open ocean. And here you can see we've, over the last 10 years, just about covered the whole ocean coast at one time or another. Okay, what's a glider? How does it work? Okay, it profiles by changing buoyancy, steers by moving internal ballast, communicates by satellite through iridium, and navigates by GPS. That's the basic idea. In a typical deployment, a glider might go from the surface to 1,000 meters, do that in 6 hours, cover 6 kilometers in that time, and do a deployment of, say, 3 to 6 months, covering, that means thousands of kilometers. Gliders can carry all kinds of sensors just like this donkey can. You can just load it up with temperature, salinity, you can put optical sensors, acoustic sensors, measure nitrate, oxygen. Donkeys can do it, so can gliders. Okay, it's a growing enterprise. You know, we're just getting going here. This is a chart from our lab. We started in the early 2000s. And we're growing until today. We have on average 10 gliders in the water at any one time somewhere in the world. Right now we actually have 12. Okay, so what have we been doing? Here's the place we've been working most, is off California. We have 3 lines that we've been doing nonstop since 2006. We repeat these lines every 3 weeks and send in the data all in real time to be distributed. We measure all those things. We measure temperature, we measure salinity, we measure velocity. Acoustic backscatter gives us a measure of zooplankton. Chlorophyll fluorescence gives us a measure of phytoplankton. So we're measuring the basic building blocks of the ecosystem. We're also measuring dissolved oxygen to look at hypoxia, and through a proxy relationship we can get some notion of ocean acidification. Here's an example where we're estimating aragonite saturation. So, almost had that on time. Well, an important thing going on along the US West Coast is the El Nino. We're actually experiencing a weak El Nino now. We're measuring this with gliders. We're also measuring it at the equator, and we're quite in phase between the equator and along the West Coast. Of course, the Gulf Stream. If you're an oceanographer, you want to measure the Gulf Stream. Rutgers made a famous deployment that traveled along the Gulf Stream across the Atlantic. The earliest crossing of a Gulf Stream by a glider was in 2004. So we're oceanographers. We measure the Gulf Stream. The most important community effort, however, was in the Gulf of Mexico in 2010 in response to the oil spill. This was a hastily made consortium involving the feds, industry, academics, who got several gliders out there all within a matter of weeks to measure the Gulf of Mexico. But what we want to do is we want to do this all around the nation all the time, just like we did in the Gulf of Mexico, but now coordinated around the nation's coast 24/7, a national glider network like the one we've done over the last 10 years. If you have a network, of course, you need data management. We're planning already a system where data from the operators goes into a data center and then is sent out to users with data standards and protocols for communication, all standardized. And once we do all this, we'll have not only glider data, but the data from all the other components of IUS going into models who are a primary user, creating products that will be useful for all kinds of folks who don't want to spend their time looking at individual glider profiles like I do. All right, so don't be this guy. Don't be tangled up in cables. What we really need is a national glider network, autonomous instrumentation, uncabled. Thank you very much.